Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning, good morning. My name is Jay, and I'm so glad you're here with us this morning. Broken ankle. Broken ankle, guys. Anyway, sure it's going to be fine. Don't worry. Right? It's going to be fine, right? We all were searching. Who is the backup? Okay, so that was part of my evening last night. Who is this guy? Anybody even know? I don't even know this guy's name. Okay, it's going to be fine. Don't worry. I'm sure it's going to be fine. Well, as Ben said, we're going to be starting a new series next week, which means that we're finishing up a series we've been in this week. So if you're new with us, let me just catch you up. We've been spending time looking at the Nicene Creed. We did so all the way through Advent, and then which was up to Christmas, and then we realized we needed some more time. So we've just continued straight through Christmas, and we're finishing this week in the Nicene Creed, and so that means that at the end of the service, we'll read the Nicene Creed together again, but I am at the last bit, which happens to be about the church. What it means that the people of God throughout hundreds of years have declared connection to the church. And this is basically what it says. Here it is. We believe in one holy, Catholic, and apostolic church. We believe in one holy, Catholic, and apostolic church. Now, for those of you that were raised Catholic, you were like, oh no, they got me again. When this word here, Catholic, doesn't mean like Roman Catholic. What the word Catholic means is one, like all together. There is only one church. And, a little pop quiz I do with pastors when I'm in different cities is I often ask, how many churches are in this city? We can do it now for Arvada. How many churches are in this city? You're like, I don't know, 220, 850, who knows? It's like, it's a guessing game. And the correct answer is one. There's one church in this city. And you're like, oh, okay, good preacher joke. But it's true. It's just true biblically. It's just true by what the church has confessed over time. There is one church with various expressions. There's one chief shepherd, and there's many under shepherds. And so the church is one, and so the scriptures make a case for the unity of the church. And the church lives in continuity with history. That's why it says the apostolic church. Every church that exists through the different generations are asking, how are we taking the church forward from what has been entrusted to us? We don't create new churches. We don't create churches that are sort of outside of an understanding of our connection to the whole church throughout history, but also throughout the world. So we believe we're a part of a global communion. The churches that are gathering in Russia and in Mongolia and in Central Africa and in Venezuela this morning, those churches are our brothers and sisters, are a part of the church that we're a part of. And there is no other kind of church. There is just one church, which is the Church of Jesus Christ, that stands throughout time and throughout the world. So that's what that basically means. And that isn't a small thought, because Jesus seems to think that that's really important. His priestly prayer, for example, in John 17, is that we would be one as he is one with the Father. The unity of the church, according to the scriptures, is a big, big deal. And there are various expressions of the Church of Jesus Christ, and each of those expressions is convinced they are right, and everyone else is done. So I'm happy to say that you came to the right one today. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying. Some of you are like, where does this go? That's not what I'm saying. I'm really not saying that. I think that you can explain. I think the most healthy way you can explain is different churches have experienced different graces of the Spirit, and are engaged in different mission in different parts of a city and different parts of the world. And to be sure, the Protestant church has specifically divided over all kinds of insane things. I know in a room like this, there's all kinds of people from different church backgrounds. There's tons of division in the church, and I think that grieves the heart of God. That doesn't mean we can't have our strong opinions. I mean, you have a family, right? Do you have a family? Do you have a crazy uncle? Yeah? If you don't, it's you for sure. I mean, because everyone does. You have that one crazy aunt, you have the crazy uncle. I mean, this is what it is to be a family. We're not always in complete agreement about all things, but about essential things, namely what we see in this creed. This creed was meant to be a unifying document for the Church of Jesus Christ with various different expressions. And so that's what it means, that we are one Catholic and apostolic church. We're connected across the globe. We're connected to the history of the church. But there's one word in there that I didn't say. It's an important word. It's an important word in relationship to what Ben said we're going to be going into, but it's an important word also as the church has understood itself over time. And that is, we believe in one holy Catholic and apostolic church. Holy. The word holy throughout the Bible quite literally means to be set apart, to be separate. Different objects in the Bible through the Hebrew Scriptures, the Old Testament, were set apart for use in the temple. That meant that they were holy. They were separate. They were meant to be special and used intentionally for things that God wanted. The sacrificial system, as one lamb was set apart to be holy, set apart unto God. The tithe throughout the Scriptures, meaning the first 10% of the money that God entrusts you with. He owns everything. He gives you some of it. And as a sign that you know that's from God, you're to set apart the first 10% as holy, set apart unto God, to be given back generously. That's a sign that you're saying, I know that I don't have any money unless God gives it to me. Holy, set apart unto God. And of course, the priests were known to be holy representatives. There's the ones throughout the Old Testament that are set apart unto God. Holy. Holiness simply just means to be set apart. And depending on your church tradition, holiness is all often understood through a moral understanding. To be holy is to realize that my body is not my own. I'm set apart unto God. My money is not my own. I'm set apart unto God. I wasn't raised in church, as many of you know. And so I didn't really know a lot of church stuff. I don't know church people growing up. I had a friend who was a Southern Baptist, and I remember somewhere this word came up, holy. I remember this week, and I was like, I don't even know what you're saying when you say that. And he was like, oh, well, it just means that we, because I'm a Christian, I don't drink or chew or go with girls who do. And so I basically was like, oh, so that means you're not very fun. But I wasn't raised in church. I didn't know. So, other maybe more Pentecostal preachers would say, it's gold, girls, and glory. One of those things is going to destroy you someday. Men, women, who knows? But for men, that's the problem, right? Like it's the women. Anyway, and so like this understanding that hopefully you hear that's all tongue in cheek. Some of you are like, does Jay believe that? I'm just saying this idea that there's like a standard for how you live. And by the way, that is found in the Scriptures. Like, your body is not your own. You don't get to just decide what you do with your body sexually. You don't get to just decide what you put in your body or what your body's not your own. You've been bought by God at a price. So that's a certain form of holiness. But I was startled as a new follower of Jesus to realize that this following Jesus wasn't just my own sort of moral standing. One of the first Sundays I went to church, because again, this encounter with God, I didn't know I was supposed to go to church until this guy told me I had to go to church. So I went to church with them, and one of the first Sundays I went to was what was called Sanctity of Life Sunday. Sanctity of Life Sunday, it turns out, is actually today, by the way. If you would, I don't know, did anyone know that? Did one person in this room know that? Okay, cool. You and me knew that it was Sanctity of Life Sunday today. And I went to this service, and again, I'm a brand new believer, I don't know anything. And I walk in, and Sanctity of Life Sunday historically is the Sunday where you remember the Roe v. Wade decision. And so churches, specifically in America, took one Sunday to talk about God's preference for life, namely to resist some of the political persuasion around abortion in the U.S. And the goal of these churches was to pray that Roe v. Wade would be overturned. Now, again, I was raised outside of church. I show up and I'm like, I've had this encounter with God. My whole life's been transformed. I know I'm supposed to not drink or chew or go with girls who do. I got a very high standard for holiness. And all of a sudden I'm like, well, wait a minute. What are we doing now? You mean that there is like a social or a political component to this thing? And somehow, because now I'm a Christian, I'm supposed to change my political or my moral thinking, my social thinking? That was like a brand new thought for me. Actually, that might be a brand new thought for many of you in this room. Right now, as I just mentioned that it's Sanctity of Life Sunday, some of you, your sphincter tightened a little bit. You got nervous. You got a little anxious. You're like, Jay, why is Jay bringing this up? Because what I think that the scriptures teach, and I'll just take a few seconds to look at this, is that being a part of the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church, this holiness in the scriptures is not just individual ethics. Holiness in the scriptures make a case that the people of God take on a way of being within the larger culture that sends a witness of who they are that's separate from whatever is happening around them. Interesting side note, for what it's worth, I did a little research this week. As far as I can tell, and I'll do some research after this week, the vast majority of churches that celebrated Sanctity of Life Sunday and would talk about Sanctity of Life Sunday have stopped in recent years because, you may or may not know, Roe v. Wade was effectively overturned in the last couple years. And I just want to point out how interesting that is, that because a political decision changed, the churches that were trying to make a stand for life assumed that somehow they were done talking about life. Is that curious to anybody besides me? As though a political shift somehow changed the moral conscience of a country. As though life isn't also included in the women that carry children to term. And as though life isn't also included in the poor who are struggling all over the streets of our cities. As though life isn't also included in refugees that are found throughout our nation. As though life isn't also included in children who don't have homes or parents to raise them. I think the problem with so much of what's happening in our country, personally, politically, and then the church by proxy, is we have very narrow definitions that just fit one or two categories. And because we stand in accordance with the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church, it means that we are not allowed to just have stances or beliefs about what, for example, something like life is, that stands solely in a political sphere. We have to be asking, how are we connected to the whole church over time? And what does it mean to be set apart unto the work of what God wants to do in the cities that we find ourselves in? So, if done correctly, the next sets of things I will be saying will offend everyone here. because I think, frankly, we've just lived in a very narrow band that does not connect us to the global and historic church. It's important to think about the world in which the scriptures were written. Specifically the New Testament. In the New Testament, infanticide was rampant. If you gave birth to a child that was deformed in any way, in most Roman cities, you would leave that child outside of the city gates to die of exposure. That was super common in the ancient world. In the ancient world, women had no rights, effectively were property. In the ancient world, the poor were dispensable, actually often even in their religious systems were not even thought of as having human rights. Violence in the Roman world was entertainment. People would go to the Colosseum to watch people kill one another. War was assumed as the natural consequence of human society. What it meant to be a human being was you were eventually going to kill or be killed. Those were normal, simple understandings of what it meant to be humans. So when the teachings of Jesus and the people of God were thrust onto the global stage in the New Testament, they behaved so radically different that they transformed the world. They were poor, often uneducated, and very uninteresting people within the larger culture. And yet, I hope you see this to be true now, Christianity literally turned the world on its ear. A sociologist named Rodney Stark wrote an interesting book called The Rise of Christianity. If you've never read that book, I would highly recommend it. If you're a nerd, you'll like it. He wrote a follow-up that was called The Triumph of Christianity. And Rodney Stark makes a very simple argument from reading the early church fathers as well as New Testament teaching and looking at just historical documents outside of the church, and it was this: that Christianity took over the world because they were so different from the watching world in how they, A, cared for the poor, B, lifted up women, C, served refugees that were among them, and D, took in children that were not their own. The early Christians, and there's lots of historical evidence for this, walked around the edges of every city every evening and collected the children that were discarded and raised them as their own. I just want you to hear what I just said. Early Christians went to where children were being left to die, picked them up, and raised them in their own families. That is radical. Early Christians promoted women as having equal rights. Imagine that. In stark contrast to the entire watching world. And early Christians were jumping across racial and ethnic boundaries. And you can not like this, but I'm just giving you history right now. Early Christians refused to join armies or engage in war because they didn't want to be a part of killing. If they were forced to join an army, they were conscripted, they would join with medical groups. They would pull people off of the battlefield and or learn the arts of caring for those who were wounded. When the plagues would hit the early cities in the early church, like different plagues that would kill different folks, Christians were the only people who would stay. They would stay and build hospitals and take care of people because they believed of an ethic that was taught to them about the value of life, human life. That human life is valuable in any and every form. That life is not just determined by value of if it matches my ethnicity or my gender, or if it's somehow perfected in a certain way, but all human life was seen as valuable. And this was utterly shocking. Early Christians were some of the first people who actually built ways to care for widows and orphans as well as the elderly. You may or may not have paid attention to this, but there's a reason why the different hospitals that you find scattered across cities in America are named by church names is because, I know this is going to be a shock, churches made them. Like Good Samaritan Hospital were Christians. Lutheran, I'll just let you, just quick guess, who do you think made the Lutheran Hospital? Lutherans. Why is it called St. Anthony's? Catholics. See, Christians believed, here's the key, they had a social obligation to the marginalized and the poor. The refugee resettlement agencies in the U.S. and around the world were started by Christians, that's right, yeah. Because the tilt of the scriptures is super clear, that you're to care for the foreigner among you, the alien among you. That doesn't, if you read that in the Bible, it's not little green men. That's foreigners. That means refugees, people who are in need. Do not neglect the foreigner who is among you, for you yourselves were once sojourners in the land of Egypt. See, the people of God were refugees at one point. And so that's why we care for refugees. But it's also why we're against infanticide. And the scriptures are really clear. How about Psalm 139? For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in a secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in the book before one of them came to be. Psalm 139. I could also show you something in Jeremiah. And the judgment of God that comes upon God's people is not often because they were somehow not worshiping the right way. It's interesting, if you read the prophets, the reason judgment tends to come to God's people is because they're not caring for the poor and the refugee among them. Here's an interesting one, like Isaiah 1. See how the faithful city has become a prostitute. She was once full of justice, righteousness used to dwell in her, but now murderers. Your silver has become dross, your choice wine is diluted with water. Your rulers are rebels, partners with thieves. They all love bribes and chase after gifts. They do not defend the cause of the fatherless. The widow's case does not come before them. You can look at all of the different minor prophets, from Amos to Isaiah, Habakkuk. Literally just pick one. That whole part of the Bible you don't read. Just flip into any section of that and just open it. And what you'll tend to find is that the judgments that God is bringing to his people, placing them in exile, is because they have not cared for the poor. And they've not cared for those who are on the margins. This is why the Church of Jesus Christ is for foster care and adoption. This is why we put things in front of you to say, how do we partner with groups that do these things in our city? These are not just because we're trying to be nice. It's because we're joining with how God is working to transform the world. And it is one of the ways that we demonstrate that we are part of the Holy Catholic Apostolic Church, is we care for the poor. We care for the marginalized. We care for the alien among us. Now, I understand that this does not fit into a neat political category. I don't know, you probably haven't noticed, but there is some tension around immigration in our country right now. Anyone noticed? There are people literally being shot on streets right now over this issue. The Church of Jesus Christ's disposition is always opposed to violence and for the marginalized. That's just who we are. That doesn't mean we want lawlessness. It doesn't mean that we just want open borders. What it does mean is the disposition of the Church of Jesus Christ is for those who are in need. Period. I don't think, as I look around the room, I see a single politician. No? Anyone here part of? Okay, so what you are is a follower of Jesus first. And so that means your disposition is always against violence. That's just who you're supposed to be as a follower of Jesus. And that means that we should be grieved at what we're watching happen in our country and around the world. period. That doesn't mean you can't have the political opinions you have. It does mean that your heart has to be towards those who are in need. That's just how it works if you're a follower of Jesus. It means when we watch people being killed anywhere in the world, our hearts are grieved. We are always suspicious of war. We're always suspicious of destruction. Just a week and a half ago, I'll finish. I was sitting with a group of leaders at a church. It doesn't matter how it was going, but the pastors had resigned. The church was in real peril. And so I was kind of there to try and help patch some things together with this church, right? So it's kind of a mess. Like, will this church even stay open? And there's all these controversies of money and all kinds of moral arguments. And I was sitting there talking with all of them, and I was praying with them, and I said to, I was going around, how's everybody doing with this? And a couple came in late, and I said to the one couple, how are you doing with all this? And they were like, oh my gosh, this is a disaster. It's a complete mess. I said, well, tell me more about that. And they said, oh my gosh, our people are in turmoil. They're praying. We don't know what to do. And I was like, well, say more about that. And they're like, yeah, well, this will break up families, and people's lives are going to be transformed. And I was like, okay, what do you mean by that? This church having a moral failure could break up families? And they're like, oh yeah, like things are going to come apart. That's what I'm thinking in my mind. I said, tell me exactly how this will break up families. They're like, oh, well, people are literally being deported. And I went, you're talking about like the immigration moment. And they were like, yeah, what were you talking about? I was like, well, I was talking about the church in failure. They're like, oh, who cares? It's fine. It'll be fine. And it was such a fascinating moment. I'm sitting in a room of people that are feeling all these emotions. And this couple is caring for a specific group of people. And they were like, oh, who cares about that? We have way bigger problems going on with the people that I care about and I'm ministering to. Their worlds are coming apart. Isn't it amazing how perspective works like that? How the things that you have stress you out, or I have that stress me out, like I'm just going to confess to you, I was genuinely nervous that Bo Nix broke his ankle. I'm scared about it, okay? Makes me anxious, makes me nervous, it makes me a little sad. Do you understand how dumb that is in comparison to what so many people are dealing with? I mean, listen, Bo, if you're listening, I love you, man. Hope you get better soon. But there are things happening right around us right now that are literally shifting the way people's whole lives work. And the Church of Jesus Christ has a disposition towards those who are hurting and in pain. Specifically different people groups who are among us. And this, throughout thousands of years, is the witness of the Church of Jesus Christ. I just want to encourage you over these next few weeks, we're going to be talking about fasting and praying and being set apart, consecrated unto the Lord. This will be personally, by way of our own personal holiness and growth with God, our own sacrificial nature of our heart, but also we're going to be asking God to help us in mission to be a witness in this city, to not just be caught up in all of the political anxiety of the world around us, to be joining how God is transforming the world. Again, I'm not trying to change any of your political persuasions. I am trying to change the posture of your heart. What does it mean for us to be a people who move toward those who are in need? Because I think the church has shown us that that's the witness of the gospel throughout church history and throughout the world. This very Sunday, some of you know I've talked to over years different pastors in Saudi Arabia and Syria and in Venezuela, and it's amazing to me when I call them at any point we're in a political moment, they're like, why are you so stressed? Like, why do you have any expectation the government will do anything you think it'll do? Why would you as a Christian think the government will match your values? I'm like, because I'm an American. I don't know. I don't know why I believe that. That's just my assumption. And like, why would you assume that? You're to be faithful to Christ no matter what. You're to bear witness to who he is, the life that he offers, and his hope and his care for those who are on the margins, no matter what. Doesn't matter what any other political person's doing. That is a radical thought, and it's part of what it means to be one holy Catholic and apostolic church.